What's going on, bros and girls? So as you may have seen in my recent channel update video, I'm doing a new computer build called Project Pure White, which will be my secondary rig, and it will serve as both a home theater PC as well as a budget gaming rig, and this is the case that I will be using. It's the recently released BitFenix Prodigy, and in my humblest of opinions, it's not only the nicest looking and most functional mini-itx size case, it's also one of the cleanest looking cases of any size. As the project title suggests, there will be a lot of white stuff involved. And by white stuff, I mean the color theme, obviously. So I got the Prodigy in Arctic White. It also comes in Midnight Black, and both versions currently retail for about $80. So for a quick tour around the box, I have no clue which side's the front, so we'll call this side the front. And over here you have the BitFenix website, www.bitfenix.com, and along the bottom over here you have the tech specs listed, and I will put a picture up and you can pause the video if you want to read it for yourself. And a few things I want to make note is that even though this is a mini-itx size case, it does have a pretty impressive capacity for drives. You can fit up to 5 3.5 inch drives or up to 9 2.5 inch SSD size drives. And on this side you have some features listed in highlighted form. I want to make note that it does have 2 USB 3.0 ports, and that is done through an internal header, which is always good. And on this side you just have the SKU and random things made in China. The top you don't have very much, as you can see, and on the bottom you got nothing. So on to the unboxing. You just take your trusty X-Acto knife and cut along the top. And this is my first case unboxing, so I may be a bit rusty / noob-like. So the first thing you will see is the Prodigy Quick Installation Guide. There you go, there's the front of the case. I'll just flip it over and get this thing out of the box. Alright, so it does use some pretty thick packing foam, so you shouldn't have any problems with damage during transport. And as you can see, there's the thickness. It's about 1 inch thick. Alright, there we go. So after finally getting the plastic off, as you can see, it looks really nice. It's all color matched perfectly. There's no differences in the white. And on the top you have it feels kind of like they call it soft touch surface treatment, but it's kind of like a smooth rubber. And on the tops as well, you can tell that it is flexible, and it does have good strength at the same time, so that's what they call the fiber flex, I believe it is. And there's your 5 1/4 inch drive. And one of the main differences between the black and the white version of this case is that on the black one, this front panel is mesh, whereas on this one, it's all surface, soft touch surface treatment. And even though there's no mesh on the front, along the entire border of this panel are ventilation holes, so your front fan will still be getting adequate amounts of air. And on this side you have more ventilation holes. This is mainly for the GPU, which faces outwards, so this case actually does provide more ventilation than conventional cases for the GPU. And on the back you have a pre-installed 120mm BitFenix Spectre fan, as well as your knockout for your motherboard and your power supply mount. Now this mount is different than normal cases in that you unscrew this panel, you take your PSU and attach the panel to it, and you push them both back in as one piece. And here are your Pci Expansion Brackets, and this is for mainly the graphics cards that have the extra dual slot coolers, so you do need the extra second slot. And on this side over here you have your your buttons for power as well as reset, and your LEDs for hard drive and power, as well as microphone and headphone jack, and your two 3.0 USB super speed ports. So I popped off the right side panel first, show you guys what's on this side. And over here you just have your two fan headers. They're 3-pin fan headers for your front and rear. And over here are your internal front panel headers. These are your audio headers, your LED and reset and power headers, as well as your USB 3.0, which also does have an adapter for USB 2.0. So if your motherboard does not have 3.0 connections, you can still use this for your front side panel. And before I get to the other side and the top panels, I just want to show you the inside of this panel has two mounts for more SSDs. These are 2.5-inch drive mounts. Now onto the left side panel. Pop it open. And over here you have a box for accessories. See what they got inside. You just have your screws as well as a cable management clip. And it's also got, it might have some, yeah, it has some extra thumb screws as well. So now onto the interior of the case. Over here you have your flex cage, which is a fully modular design. This part over here is just removable by pressing the top and bottom. And there you go. And the very bottom as well as the very top cages are removable as well. You just have to unscrew them. So if you want to install a large radiator on the front, you can totally do that, or if you have a pump or something. And over here is your PSU mount. And I just want to make note that it does limit your PSU size to 160 millimeters. So if you have a larger PSU with large cables, you may have problems with fit. But I do know anything like the Corsair HX650 has no problems with it. And along the top you have a removable mesh filter. Over here you just push that down to lock it in. And the top does also have enough size to mount a 240 millimeter radiator. So if you remove the top over here, you definitely have enough room for those mounts, and you can even do push-pull fan setup. And a few final things I want to show you before we go is on the bottom you can see one of the mounts for the 2.5-inch SSD drives, as well as your removable dust filter for the PSU fan. There we go, that's what it looks like. So it's easy to remove, easy to clean. And also with the PSU fan, there is adequate amounts of airflow. There's quite a lot of room underneath, as well as these rubber razors that help vibration as well as give you a bit more clearance for airflow. And you can also see the standoff mounts for the motherboard. And with the flex cage, it is completely tool free, so you just got to put your hard drive into these little screws and put the bracket back in. And the thumb screws that I did mention that were in the accessories box were actually for holding these in place, so you can just put the thumb screws into those holes over there so they won't move around. And finally, one last thing I want to show you is the front fan capacity. I'll just pop this front panel off. And so it's just popped off with these tabs over here. And even though there is included two 120 millimeter BitFenix Spectre fans, you do have the option to mount another 120 above it, as well as a 180, a 200, or a 230 if you wish. And if you did want to mount the two 120 millimeter fans or a 240 millimeter radiator, that is where you would have to sacrifice the top 5¼ inch drive bay, as that's where the screws are mounted. And I also forgot to mention that there is also a mount for a 140 millimeter fan. So I hope you guys all enjoyed my unboxing for the BitFenix Prodigy mini-itx case. If you did, please thumbs up, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It would help me out tremendously. Until next time, YouTube, peace!